Welcome, you intensely curious learners, to another deep dive. Today, we're plunging into a classic tale that will absolutely burrow into your mind and make you question, well, the very fabric of our reality. We're taking a deep look at Arthur Macon's unsettling classic, The Great God Pan.
And this isn't just a horror story in the traditional sense. It's really a profound philosophical exploration, cloaked in terror. It suggests our familiar world is just this thin membrane stretched over ancient primal forces. Mansion forces us to confront the terrifying possibility that these forces aren't only real, but maybe just a breath away, waiting for a chance to break through.
Yeah, exactly. So our mission today is to peel back the layers of Machen's killing narrative, uncovering the intertwined mysteries and shocking revelations from a series of fragmented accounts. We'll trace this lineage of horror that spans decades and shatters multiple lives. We want to reveal why this story still resonates so much in, the annals of cosmic horror. Get ready, because here's where we truly delve into the uncanny. So let's open this unsettling journey with a scene straight out of a Gothic laboratory, where we meet Dr. Raymond. He's utterly convinced he's on the cusp of a groundbreaking transcendental medicine discovery. But what exactly is he trying to achieve? And what does his audacious theory tell us about Machen's unique brand of terror?
Well, Dr. Raymond's theory is audacious, to say the least, and it's absolutely foundational to Machen's contribution to cosmic horror. He believes our everyday world is merely a veil, a comforting illusion hiding a deeper, far more profound, and frankly terrifying real world.
Yeah.
He's convinced that specific, unused nerve centers in the brain can be activated to lift this veil, allowing us to perceive this other reality. The terror here isn't just a monster, it's the sheer, indifferent vastness of what we don't perceive. And this idea that our reality is maybe just a benevolent lie.
And he chooses a young woman named Mary as his subject, claiming her life is his to use as I see fit. Which, that alone is chilling. He tells his colleague Clark with this chilling certainty, Mary will see the god Pan.
Wow.
It's a phrase that resonates with both ancient myth and this deep undercurrent of dread. How does Machen immediately frame Pan not as some pastoral figure, but as something terrifying, just through Raymond's certainty? And how does Clark's own sort of premonition during the preparations amplify this early sense of impending cosmic dread?
Oh, Machen is brilliant here. By associating Pan with Raymond's dangerous, almost sacrilegious experiment, he completely strips away any pastoral innocence. This Pan isn't the playful deity of the woods. He's a symbol, as we'll find out later, of ancient, pre-human, indifferent forces. And Clark's premonition is crucial. He encounters a presence that was neither man nor beast, neither the living nor the dead, but all things mingled, the form of all things, but devoid of all form. This isn't just a bad dream. It's a direct, visceral experience of the primordial chaos that lies beyond the veil. It really foreshadows the truly unclassifiable entity Mary is about to witness.
So the experiment proceeds. Mary takes the phial, the veil is lifted, her eyes open. We know the immediate devastating outcome. Her mind is just shattered. What's the significance of her immediate collapse into idiocy rather than, say, a physical death? What does this psychological obliteration tell us about Macon's brand of horror? And maybe about the true nature of what she saw?
That's a critical point. Mary's transformation into an imbecile is, in many ways, far more horrific than a physical death would have been. Her eyes open with awful light, first great wonder, then morphing into most awful terror before she falls shrieking, her face hideously convulsed. This psychological disintegration suggests that certain truths are just too fundamental, too destructive for the human psyche to bear. Machen implies that the sheer nature of the great god Pan in this context is so utterly alien and terrifying that human consciousness simply cannot process it and survive intact. And Raymond's chilling, almost satisfied conclusion, however, it could not be helped, and after all, she has seen the great god Pan. It just underscores the horrific success of his endeavor, despite the appalling cost.
Right. Mary's fate is sealed, but the ripples of Dr. Raymond's experiment extend far beyond that initial horror. Years pass, and we turn our attention back to Clark. Despite his initial revulsion, he seems almost inexplicably drawn back into this dark world. What compels him to start compiling his memoirs to prove the existence of the devil?
It's really a testament to the profound impact of Raymond's experiment on Clark. He initially pulled back in terror, absolutely, but the sheer, unsettling nature of what he witnessed clearly sparked this deep, almost forbidden curiosity. He's wrestling with the idea that there are forces at play that defy conventional understanding. And his memoirs become an attempt to, catalog and understand this nascent supernatural evil. It's an intellectual and spiritual journey into the abyss, much like the one you, the listener, are on with us today.
And it's through these memoirs that we encounter the next horrifying chapter with a story from Clark's friend, Dr. Phillips. He introduces us to Helen Fee, an orphaned young woman described as having a somewhat foreign character. She arrives in this remote Welsh village known for its ancient forests and Roman history. It's a setting just ripe for ancient horrors, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Machen frequently uses these ancient, primal landscapes of Wales to anchor his horror in a sense of deep time and, well, pagan mystery. Helen V immediately stands out because she spends an extraordinary amount of time alone in these ancient woods. It suggests a pre-existing connection, maybe an instinctual pull towards something primordial. And it's here that the inexplicable horrors begin to unfold, directly linking her to some kind of corrupting influence.
Yeah, like with the young boy, Trevor W. He sees Helen playing on the grass with a strange naked man in the forest and is utterly traumatized. His cries of the man in the wood persist for weeks, and this leads to him seeing a Roman faun or satyr stone head and suffering a fit that leaves him an imbecile, just like Mary. What's striking here is that the horror isn't just physical, it's psychological disintegration, again, in an innocent. How does Machen use the mental shattering of characters like Trevor to illustrate that certain truths are just too fundamental, too destructive for the human psyche, maybe even more terrifying than death itself?
It really amplifies the dread immensely. By preying on innocence, Machen underscores the truly insidious nature of this evil. The children don't just see a monster, they glimpse something so fundamentally wrong about the nature of reality that their minds simply break. And Dr. Phillips later notes that the Roman stonehead itself had a vivid presentment of intense evil. This indicates these are not mere psychological events or childhood fantasies, but tangible manifestations of a deeper malevolence that leaves a kind of psychic mark. The horror isn't just a threat to life, it's a threat to sanity, to the very structure of personhood.
The story then moves to Helen, now older, forming this intimate character of friendship with Rachel M., a local girl. Rachel's mother notices a disturbing change in her daughter. After their forest excursions, she's become languid and dreamy, different from herself. The horror culminates when Rachel's mother finds her weeping, asking, Mother, why did you let me go to the forest with Helen?" And then Rachel vanishes in broad sunlight, just gone. Clark's own reaction to this story is telling. My God, such things can never be in this quiet world. But then he concludes his entry with that chilling Latin phrase, et diabolus incarnatus est, et homo factus est, which is, and the devil was made incarnate, and man was made. That's a powerful shift from a god to a devil, and the suggestion of something inhuman taking human form. What do you make of that evolution in Clark's perception?
It really shows the insidious corruption at work, doesn't it? The shift from God to devil in Clark's mind reflects the destructive and malevolent impact of this entity. What started as Raymond's, let's say, scientific curiosity to see Pan has now, through Helen, morphed into something unequivocally evil, a force capable of not just traumatizing but claiming souls, essentially erasing individuals from existence. The idea of the devil made incarnate is Machen wrestling with the profound blasphemy and inversion of natural order that Helen represents. She's not merely a wicked human, she's an embodiment of something else entirely.
And the darkness Helen brings isn't confined to those remote Welsh woods. How does Machen escalate the horror by transplanting this ancient evil into the sophisticated gaslit streets of London? How does that demonstrate its universal corrupting power?
Oh, it's a brilliant move. It shows that this primordial horror isn't just some folk tale confined to the wild, untamed places. Machen brings it right into the heart of modern civilization, which makes it all the more unsettling. We fast forward to London, where Villiers, a well-to-do man about town, experiences this shocking resurrection, as he calls it. He encounters his old college friend, Charles Herbert, who's been reduced to a ragged beggar, utterly ruined in body and soul.
Right, and Herbert attributes his complete downfall directly to his wife, Helen Vaughan. He describes her as having a most wonderful and most strange beauty, but claims she spoke of things which even now I would not dare whisper. He recounts seeing the incredible such horrors that left him a haunted man. This hints at the insidious, corrupting nature of Helen's presence, not just physically, but morally, spiritually. She doesn't just damage. It feels like she devours the souls of those around her.
Indeed. Her beauty is a lure, isn't it? A facade for something profoundly alien and corrupting. This spiritual consumption is Machen's unique twist. Following Herbert's ruin, we see the true, insidious nature of Helen's influence in the Paul Street case. A gentleman of very good position was found dead. The police were baffled, no signs of violence, no poison.
Right, no struggle, no obvious foul play, just death. And the doctor's chilling post-mortem conclusion is that the man died of fright, of sheer awful terror. What does this tell us about the sheer power attributed to this unseen horror, that it's capable of causing death by fear alone without leaving a single mark?
It elevates the horror beyond the purely physical. Machen is making the point that the most profound terror isn't inflicted by blade or poison, but by existential dread. To die of sheer fright implies confronting a truth so fundamentally terrifying that the body simply cannot cope. And this speaks volumes about Helen herself. Witnesses describe Mrs. Herbert Helen as at once the most beautiful woman and the most repulsive. It's a stark contradiction that speaks to her dual inhuman nature, embodying both allure and utter corruption.
Villiers, driven by this growing dread and a mounting sense of unease, visits the empty house at 20 Paul Street himself. He describes this profoundly unsettling, almost physical sensation. A queer, heavy feeling that felt like the entrance of death. It's a fantastic description of a place just permeated by pure malevolence. He finds old newspapers and, among them, a curious drawing of a woman's head.
And this leads to a crucial breakthrough, a real aha moment for Clark. Villiers shows him the drawing, and a far, far memory is awakened in Clark. He recognizes Mary's face in the drawing, but with something else, the most vivid presentment of evil I have ever seen, echoing Dr. Phillips' words about the fawn head back in Wales. The name Helen Vaughan on the back confirms the connection. For Clark, the picture truly fills the cup of terror. It finally brings these disparate threads of horror together in one horrifying realization. The threads converge.
Okay, so with the full horror of the situation crystallizing, Clark sends Villiers this letter of stark advice. What does it say to someone like Villiers who's already kind of halfway down this rabbit hole but maybe not fully aware of its true depths?
Clark's warning is desperate, really. It's born of his own close blush with the unspeakable. He urges Villiers to throw the portrait into the fire, blot out the story from your mind. He says, "What I know is strange enough and horrible enough, but beyond my knowledge there are depths and horrors more frightful still." He describes himself as a traveler who has peered over an abyss and is drawn back in terror, clearly pleading with Villiers to do the same before it's too late. It's a moment of profound recognition of the limits of human understanding and the dangers of seeking forbidden knowledge.
But the abyss, as you say, draws Villiers closer still. Helen Vaughan, it turns out, is now Mrs. Beaumont, a wealthy, eccentric socialite in London living in Ashley Street. Austen finds her remarkably handsome, but with an expression that gives him a dim, far-off memory of something he can't quite place. And then we witness this chilling series of events unfold across London society.
Indeed. Lord Argentine, a beloved nobleman, commits suicide by strangulation with no apparent motive. None at all. And within 3 weeks, 3 more gentlemen follow, dying in almost precisely the same manner.
Yeah.
The police are completely dumbfounded, noting, suicidal mania is not smallpox, highlighting the baffling and almost contagious nature of these deaths.
The horror here, it isn't just the fact of death, but the mechanism of it. It's like a spiritual contagion, as you said earlier. How does Machen portray this evil as an insidious existential threat, rather than just a physical one?
What's crucial about these suicides, beyond the sheer number, is the causality, or lack thereof in conventional terms. Machen doesn't offer a conventional explanation. It is a spiritual contagion. Helen Vaughan doesn't kill them directly. It seems she exposes them to a reality so profoundly corrupting that they choose self-annihilation. This shows Machen's genius in portraying evil as this insidious existential threat. Austen reveals Lord Argentine dined at Mrs. Beaumont's house the night before his death, and then comes the 5th suicide, Mr. Sidney Crashaw, after which Villiers makes that shocking confession. He saw Crashaw leaving Mrs. Beaumont's house at 2 a.m., his face twisted by an infernal medley of passions, a lost soul, a devil's face. He claims Crashaw no longer belonged to this world, which is just a chilling statement about the utter destruction of identity.
Wow. And the mystery of Helen's nature is hinted at further by the discovery of those drawings by the late painter Arthur Merrick. These frightful images depict fauns and satyrs and agipans, a Walpurgis night of evil, complete with an inscription mentioning the chorus of agipans and songs of pipes. The final drawing in the book is explicitly identified as Mrs. Herbert Helen. How do these pagan wild images connect Helen to something far older and more sinister than just human depravity?
This is Machen deliberately weaving an ancient myth and folklore to deepen that sense of primordial evil. Fauns, satyrs, and agipans are creatures of the wild, associated with the untamed Dionysian aspects of nature, often chaotic and amoral. A Walpurgis night of evil implies a demonic revelry, a gathering of witches and spirits. By associating Helen with these figures, Machen elevates her from a mere human villain to an embodiment of these ancient, wild, and dark forces. She's not just influenced by Pan, she's a manifestation of that untamed, amoral, pre-human essence.
The terror escalates to an almost unbearable level when Villiers obtains a disturbing manuscript detailing Mrs. Beaumont's entertainment. Austen refuses to even read it, declaring that the dread and horror of death itself are as nothing compared to this. That's a truly staggering statement. What forces could possibly be so fundamentally terrifying that even the thought of them is worse than death?
It pushes the boundaries of horror right into existential territory. Machen is implying that there are truths, or maybe experiences, so profoundly antithetical to human existence, so utterly alien and destructive to the soul, that they make the ultimate physical cessation death seem preferable. It's the ultimate cosmic horror, where the threat isn't just to your body, but to the very concept of your being, your sanity, all that makes us human.
And Villiers, in a moment of profound insight, offers this chilling explanation for the terror. What's his theory, and how does it encapsulate Machen's central message about the great god Pan?
Villiers finally articulates Machen's core philosophy, I think. He states that it is an old story, an old mystery played in our day. We know what happened to those who chanced to meet the great god Pan. He then theorizes that Pan is an exquisite symbol beneath which men long ago veiled their knowledge of the most awful, most secret forces which lie at the heart of all things. Forces before which the souls of men must wither and die and blacken. He believes it's about that which is without form, taking to itself a form. This is Machen's central idea. Pan isn't a singular entity, but a representation of the incomprehensible, chaotic, and utterly indifferent forces that underpin reality. Forces which our veil of perception usually protects us from. To truly see Pan is to glimpse the unmaking of everything.
And it's this chilling realization that drives Villiers to his drastic plan. He's acquired a hempen cord and intends to offer Helen Vaughn a choice, alone in a locked room. This shows the depth of his desperation to stop the horror, right? A willingness to confront pure evil head-on, even if it means stepping into that abyss himself.
A desperate measure for an unnatural evil, absolutely. And the final confirmation of Helen's insidious nature comes from that letter about Merrick's death, the painter of those disturbing images. He died of an utter collapse of the whole system, probably caused by some severe shock after being with Mrs. Vaughn in Buenos Aires. It just further solidifies her role as this harbinger of spiritual and physical destruction, a universal corrupter.
Okay, so the pieces of this terrifying puzzle finally slot into place with two crucial documents: Dr. Robert Matheson's cryptic Latin notes, and that final, devastating letter from Clark to Dr. Raymond.
Yes, Matheson's notes describe the death of Helen Vaughn likely at Villiers' hands, though it's not explicit. He recounts seeing a body transformed before my eyes, melting and dissolving from some internal force. He witnessed it shift from sex to sex, then descend to the beasts whence it ascended, even to the abyss of all being. This horrible and unspeakable shape, neither man nor beast, eventually reverted to human form just before death. It's a grotesque, primordial de-evolution, a vision of absolute horror that defies natural law. It really showcases the profound alienness of Helen's true form. It's Machen pushing the boundaries of what horror can depict, forcing us to confront the unmaking of being itself.
Wow. So it's not just a physical transformation, it's a primordial regression, like an anti-creation event playing out before Matheson's eyes. And that, for me, is where the true terror of this story lies, not just in what's seen, but in the utter destruction of what it means to be human.
Exactly. And then the ultimate shocking revelation arrives in Clark's letter to Raymond. He confirms that the woman he saw die was indeed Helen Vaughn, and yet in her last agony, Mary's eyes looked into mine. The terrible truth: Helen Vaughn was Mary's daughter, born 9 months after Raymond's original experiment.
So Mary's encounter with Pan didn't just shatter her mind, it resulted in something, well, far more monstrous. Raymond's own confession is devastating, isn't it? His experiment broke open the door of the house of life, allowing that for which we have no name. Human flesh may become the veil of a horror one dare not express. He confesses to knowing what he had done the moment Helen was born, and even witnessing her with a playmate you may guess of what kind, when she was only 5 years old. Helen Vaughn was the monstrous offspring of Mary and the entity she saw, the great god Pan.
It brings this truly horrifying cyclical completeness to the narrative. Raymond, in his hubris, created a physical gateway for something formless and ancient to manifest in the world. And to drive the point home, Clark's visit to the Welsh village of Caerman uncovers that ancient Roman pillar, the one dedicated to the great god Nodens, the god of the great deep or abyss, on account of the marriage which he saw beneath the shade. This provides the final chilling context. Helen Vaughn was an incarnation of this ancient malevolent force, a progeny of the great deep itself. The suicides, the corruption, the transformations, all were manifestations of this primal entity embodied in Helen. Her death brought an end to her physical form, yes, but the implications linger, reminding us that such forces, once unleashed, leave an indelible mark on reality.
What an unsettling, intricate web of cosmic horror Arthur Machen weaves in The Great God Pan. From a doctor's audacious experiment to a lineage of unspeakable terror unleashed upon London, this deep dive leaves us with so much more than just a terrifying story.
It really challenges us to fundamentally reconsider the nature of reality itself. Macon's work, in many ways, was a precursor to the cosmic horror genre we know today, positing that the true horror lies not in monsters under the bed, but in the indifferent, ancient forces that exist just beyond our perception, forces threatening to unravel our very sanity if we dare to glimpse them.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What if the ordinary comforting world we perceive is merely a thin, fragile veil, a benevolent lie protecting us from primal ancient forces that dwell in the deep abyss? What is at any moment the thinnest part of that veil could tear, revealing horrors we are utterly unprepared to comprehend? Just waiting for some scientific hubris or maybe just careless curiosity to provide an opening.